Holy smokes! I'm not ready. Maybe that's why I got banned. I don't even have to press anything. It's legitimately live. Look at that. Let me move some stuff around here. There we go. So I'm gonna post this thing. Good grief. On the actual stories. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. It's a crazy world. I watched E.S. Sparks's little video there, and I agree with a lot of what he had to say. You know, you spend, and I do, I spend too much time on this stupid app, and when it blew up on Friday, just zapped it. That's what, I'm banned for being too old. It's ageism. I'm going to sue Instagram for billions of dollars. Out of, 10,000 whatever, I probably had regular conversations with 250, maybe 300 people, which is absolutely amazing. Having run my own show for 20 years and worked for my father for 15 before that, and you don't really communicate all that closely with the competition in your city. So it's been a real blessing in my life to be part of this community in any way. And as I've said lots of times, there are moments where it's absolutely therapeutic to get on this and yell at this stupid screen and have some collaboration with some like-minded individuals. And the contrary of that is have some interesting discussions with some people that are not necessarily like-minded. There's been some eye-opening stuff, all for good causes, or I mean, not good causes, but it certainly has opened my eyes in lots of ways. You sort of live in your own little bubble, think your own thoughts, do your own thing. You become sort of a big fish in a little pond, and it's nice to get out into the ocean, I guess, and see the world, see what people think, see how people do things in different parts of the world. People send me posts on, is this okay? And I'm like, in Alberta, that would fail. You just violated 6 codes. Yet, it works and it passes in their jurisdiction. So there's not only one way to plumb. There's not only one way to run electrical. That's the beauty of the trade. In my world, is the furnace is kicking in. I've learned a lot. I'm just sorry, I'm reading the thing. I don't know why I got zapped. Literally, I was scrolling through my feed in the morning. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I just dropped off my daughter for basketball practice, scrolling through, and it like freaked out, like it kicked me out. And then I tried to go back in, and it said the app isn't working at this time, so I closed it, restarted my phone, gone. Yeah, gone. So I don't know. It's I do think it's a technical glitch. Like I say, Turbo's on here. If Turbo, who's commenting right now, can be on this crazy app and I get banned or blown up or whatever, then somebody's not doing their job right. So I was saying about SS or ES Sparks there, you sort of have a moment. You're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm done. I'm not doing this again. But then you realize that it's not about, the numbers that are there. It's about the connections that you made. Like, obviously the world's on freaking lockdown, and my government probably get banned for this is my government's moronic. Our travel ban, the truckers. If you want to know what's going on in Canada, look at Canadian truckers. They are parked all over the roads to tell our Prime Minister to go get bent. I would love to. This live thing's weird because you got to read and talk at the same time. You can't call customer support. There's no one to call. You literally have to email. So what they do, this is what I had to do, is I lodged my complaint via email, and they sent me a 5-digit code back and said, now you have to write this 5-digit code, hand write it out on a piece of paper, and then you need to take a selfie of it with you holding the piece of paper so we can see your whole face and both of your hands holding the paper with your full name and your username that you lost. So if it literally looks like a prison photo, I'm like this. Please give me back my account. It's literally a mugshot. So you send that to whatever it is, Instagram support, and they say, thank you, we'll look into it, which basically means they're done. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe in August of this year, they'll be like, here you go, your account's back live. So, I don't know. Like, you're the only thing I'm even remotely miffed about, frankly, is you had, like you say, I had my Baker swag stories, I had my honeybees in there, goat videos for days, probably too much stuff. So we'll clean it up a bit and focus a bit more on what we do. Oh, sorry, hang on. It does sound like a scam, doesn't it? Like you literally just are like, anyway, I literally felt like a loser. I felt like the very first time, which was probably 4 or 5 years ago, when I did my first video on this thing, where I'm like, man, this is stupid. I'm literally talking to a piece of glass. Who's going to listen to this craziness? Oh, there's somebody got their account back. PS Plumber. Took you 12 days. Well, so it's legit. The mugshot thing's legit. I'm part of the team. They didn't make me go sideways. I should have gone that. I should have gone, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one, here's the back of my head. I don't know. I turn 52 in a couple of weeks, and I'm not gonna wax too much poetic, but man, I have seen some crazy shit and some awful shit. I don't think I've ever talked about. I certainly haven't talked about it on here. Back in 2006, my dad was 56, so I have 4 years left before I'm out of here. And was diagnosed with brain cancer, and out of nowhere, completely healthy, worked every day of his life. I work with him every other day of my life, and I watched that man melt in less than 9 months. It was the most horrific experience of my life. It took me a long time to recover from that. I was a real a-hole for 4 or 5 years, like just mean, unhappy, mean to my kids, mean to lots of people. So don't do that. So I sort of went through that, and then unfortunately, that happens over you watch that happen slowly and have to deal with all those emotions as that sort of manifests itself and comes to its ultimate conclusion. And then early in 2019, or 18, sorry, my mom went in for kidney stone surgery. Came out early because she had done so well, and came home. to stay with me because she needed some supervision, and she was really tired because the guy that was in her room had his prostate removed, so was loud all night long. So she was exhausted. So she went to her into the basement and went to bed. And the next morning, I went and got her medication. Showed up later that afternoon, checked on her. She was sleeping. Came back later that afternoon, about 3 o'clock, and she was gone, out of nowhere. And that was an awful, awful experience. I don't know. It was terrible. Anyway, so I guess the point of saying that stuff, and you're in business and you win and lose contracts, you work for people and get fired or decide that they're not part of your team anymore. I've had 30 or 40 employees back in the day. Everything changes. Like, nothing remains the same. The most consistent thing in life is change. And so you just sort of got to take this crap in stride. Instagram can go bite itself. I don't care. I do miss, and which is why I'm on here at the moment and will continue to be, is for the community. Turbo has spent a week at my house out of nowhere. Like, that would have never happened if it wasn't for Instagram and the connections that made. I've gone to trade shows and talked to just wonderful people, plumbers, electricians, industry reps. Like, there's, I'm not going to name names because there's just too many. Just freaking amazing people that you meet on here. So no doubt this app is what it is, and the people that run it do it for free. So you're subject to whatever the whims of their fancy. But there's nothing you can do, and it'll probably change again. They'll probably want to make us pay for this privilege of communicating with each other in the future. I don't know what that's going to do. So I'm going to put my address in my bio and my phone numbers. And I'm of the age where I think I can start giving some stuff back. Like I said, I've sort of been through the ringer and back again. It's been an absolute privilege to watch my own boys grow up from little tiny. Like, I see all you guys with your kids, working with them when they're little, and it's a huge pain in the ass because they get in the way, they don't do it right, and it's just way easier for them for you to do it yourself. But it's having my two boys. Isaiah's an actual plumber now. He's got his ticket this year. Pete's halfway through. He'd be farther along if it wasn't for the bananas crap that the government's doing. There's nothing prouder for me to see my kids succeed in something that I am incredibly passionate about and literally have done my entire life. I've had guys bust my chops saying, "There's no way you've done this for 40 years. I'm like, listen, dude, my earliest memories of 4 and 5 is walking around the job site, no doubt making a mess, picking up wood chips and putting them in the garbage, sweeping. That was my job. So technically, I could probably say I've been doing this for 45 years. I'm not gonna. But from, age 12 on, it was what I did every weekend after school. If I had nothing going on, I was in the shop organizing, putting stuff away, cleaning up the whatever needed to be cleaned up. So it's let me see here. I've gone on a bit of a rant. Baker Experience 2020. No, no. You can like I say, you are welcome to come by anytime you want. I will. I will. As Turbo will attest to, I'll buy you a steak at one of the best steak houses in the city. You're welcome to sleep under my roof, visit with my family, and just enjoy the Baker experience. I love it out here. I'm in my stupid barn. It's fantastic. It's a dream come true. We talked about it. I've talked about it for years doing this, and now it's here. Yep. Yeah, like Turbo said, it wasn't a holiday. You know, we put them to work. Moved a 2,000-pound boiler around. Got that going. So whatever comes of this, I just wanted to say that I absolutely appreciate the connections, which is what this thing's all about. If you have a question of anything, please ask me a question. I may not know the answer. My standard line has been forever. I don't know everything, but I know where to find the answers. So I know enough people that I can find whatever answer you're looking for. And it truly is. I live an absolutely blessed, wonderful life thanks to the trade. There's no other way for it. Anybody that's ever come out here that is a quote unquote friend of mine, every single one of them, it's actually become funny. I've said it to my kids. You watch when whoever comes out here for the first time. What do you do again? I'm a plumber. That's it. You don't do anything else. No, I work for a living. And you work for a living and you freaking put in the miles and the effort and the everyday. Amazing things can happen. If you've watched, I've just seen Pipe Wench there. You know, she is working on her dad's house. You can watch that whole progression. That's literally a tiny 4-year, 3-year, however long it's taken. Look into what your life can be. Your life can be if you want to put in the time and the effort to make something fantastic about your life. So, and how old is this IG thing anyway? You know, it's my original account was probably 2012, which I didn't use very much. I didn't really start using it until probably 2017. And it's changed 10 times. It's going to change some more. Turbo is a maniac. Now listen, let me say this. Is Turbo still on here? I'm not going to press any buttons. Oh yeah, he just commented. Let me say this, and he'll disagree in the comments. What you see on the screen, even for me, and what you see in real life are not the same thing. They're not. You put on your persona, you know, you straighten your hat or do whatever. Turbo sits naked in his couch. Or whoever, you know, talking to some of the people out there that I admire. Their life, you know, their real life persona, while fantastic and real, is not the same as their Instagram or their social media. Like, they say things that they don't say in real life. And I think everybody's susceptible to that. I mean, I say things in real life that I would never say here because of, heaven knows, the reprisals. I get banned forever. They'd put out a warning. If you see this dude, don't follow him. So, you know, lots of our opinions and our ideas and what we decide to show and not show are on some level fabrications. I admit it. You know, uh, we do try and show our mistakes, but there's been a few things where Pete's like, "Should I post this?" I'm like, "Dude, no. Are you kidding me? You know what the kind of comments you're gonna get if you post something like that? Woo!" Dude, he's not. Turbo is not the same in person. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, it's not. It's just like I don't know if I mean I'm speaking for people that I don't know about. But I don't know if the newer tradesman who's been in this trade since, so say 2015, when all this technology's been made available to us. Like I was 3 years into the trade when I had a pager. That's how people got a hold of me. And it wasn't even a number. It was literally just, it beeped. And I had to phone the pager company. They'd be like, "What's going on?" And they'd be like, "So-and-so has a problem with their drain." Okay. And you would, phone them on a landline. And you would get to it in the next couple of days. That's how my dad ran how he ran his business, was off an answering machine. He would come home from work, listen to his 18 messages, write down which ones were important and which ones that he was going to address, have dinner, and then make a couple phone calls for the next day. That was it. Like he had an hour window a day of where he would, set up his next day. Now, I have customers that like, "I need you here in the next 17 minutes. 17 minutes. And if you're not there in 17 minutes, you're finding someone else." And my issue with that is when people say, "I need you here today," particularly people that I don't know. Like, I just last on Friday, some dude's like, "This needs to happen today." I'm like, you know what? I'm not even calling you back, because that's not how I work. I'll get to you when I can get to you. I know what emergency is, and I know what emergency is not. And the fact that you don't have hot water at 9 o'clock on a Friday morning isn't necessarily an emergency. So, what do you do? I'm not going anywhere. That's right, Turbo's saying. I do remember pressing rewind all the time to listen. He would call me in occasionally. "Listen to this guy. He is mad as a hornet." Like, "What are you gonna do about it?" He was like, "Nothing." So maybe that's where I got my attitude from. Now people can get right in your face. So, yeah, I'm literally ranting now. I see. What happens if I press this button? I'm sorry if I press a button. Oh. Turbo wants to join. Should I let Turbo join? If you guys want to see a fake mother effer, it's Turbo. He's actually very kind. He's considerate. He's worried about people. He just doesn't take any crap. That's all. Yeah, what the hell? Should we do it? Well, I got 2 votes for yes, do it. All right, I have never done this before. All right, Turbo. Hang on. Is it gonna work? I think I pressed the button. Some Jeopardy music.
Oh,
He's got
there.
headphones on.
I hope it works.
It sounds like
It
it works.
sounds like it's working. I'm like, oh man. Yeah, Instagram and watching this stuff. When I saw Joe Canning get his account taken down, I'm like, Canadian Carpenter, I'm like, what's going on with Joe? Doesn't he have like 200,000 followers? And they
When did that happen?
clipped
That's
it.
recent.
Yeah, it's recent. He was having a lot. He's got Joe's had that thing, you know, in life, like you were talking about your dad, your mom, and the progression. And when you get all of that shit in life happen
Yeah,
in
yeah.
3 months, that's what happened to Joe.
There we go.
He's got every problem you want, he's got, not want, every problem you could have in life is all condensed. So it feels like, you know, he's dropped to a knee. I talked to him last night. I'm like, what's going on? Is it this? He goes, a little bit of that. And I'm like, oh, you got the enchilada happening, don't you? I'm like, everything. He goes, throw a
That's the
death.
thing, though, right? Like, and you don't want to predict bad tidings on
Nope.
anybody, but all these guys that, and not, I shouldn't say all these guys, but there's lots of people out there that think they're invincible and that they're,
Oh, yeah.
man, I got it figured out, man. It's not going to happen to me. I'm like, dude, life is going
Well,
to kick you
you
what
said
should
it.
I say, genitalia these days.
What's the guarantee in life, Bob? Change. And you get stuck in this rut, and your marriage is going great for a decade, everything's really good, and then
Yeah,
everything falls apart, and you're like, what happened?
yeah.
You relaxed. You can look back and on any accident and be like, well, if you would have did this, this wouldn't have happened. If. You'll spend the rest of your life looking at the if. You just,
No.
like say, and I've said it, right? When all this shit happened, and maybe you get it back with your little mugshot bullshit. That's what Joe did. He said that. He told me. He's
So it's
like,
real. I
he
literally
goes,
felt like the world's
he
biggest
goes,
pillow.
he
I'm all
goes,
like,
when you were doing it, I'm
please,
like, he's
please be
like,
nice to me.
he's like, it's me. And I'm like, he was telling me, and I'm like, oh, fuck off. You guys really with this Instagram thing. I'm like, I said it. If Instagram ended today, what would you be? You should be more successful. All we're doing for me, Instagram, it's a bit of our shared story. It's a bit of psychology because I get to share it. Like say you talk to a screen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the way it is. I'm like, you know, and it's me also too at work. If you fucking boot along, you'd be like, who's in the room with that guy? And I'm like, I'm talking to myself. Because I'm like, I verbalize my shit. And I'm like, I did it long before Instagram. You probably 25 years ago tell me you're not in a room going, so what exactly did I
That's
fucking do?
exactly right.
Somebody
It
walks in and
hasn't
they're
changed
like,
at all.
who
I'm
are you
literally,
talking to?
yeah. You're literally trying to figure out a problem. You're like, okay, so
I know.
whatever you're doing, the homeowner walks in. You okay, man?
Oh,
Like,
fucking
oh,
funny.
whew, scared the
Oh,
crap out of me. I
yeah.
didn't know you were here. Yeah, I know. We're just working this out. It'll be fine.
Who are you talking to? You're like, I'm talking to my dad. And the guy's like this. Didn't your father pass away like last year? You're like, yes. And then he just walks away. And you're like, where the fuck did Fred go? He's spooked out because he thinks my dad's in the room. And it's like, this is just me talking. I
I
talk to,
have
oh, I love it.
absolutely done that. Said
Yeah.
out loud, okay, Dad, how am I going to
Yes.
fix it? What's the deal here? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then see, like,
And then
somebody
the
walks
power.
in behind, like, oh, sorry, man, just having a little, I'm having a
Shake my head
seance
with
in
my
here. You
dad.
better back the hell off, man.
Oh God. Like say when I saw that account bullshit happen, and I'm like, and then I giggled because I'm like, so how is mine still up? Because I'm like, oh, I've said way, way, way more shit than you.
I know.
Like
You don't have to
direct to
tell me.
people where I'm like I've insulted people. I'm like, I've been booted off Instagram. I've been booted for some bullshit, but I'm like 3 days. I called one girl straight up on a public forum site in our town. She's just a trolly bitch. And I'm like, I said this, Becca, you're such a fucking cunt. And the guy's like, the moderator, he goes, oh, and he, doink, he shut it all down. And then he sends me a message. He goes, Terb, and it's in my town. Like it's a community forum in the community. And people went bananas. And I'm like, come on, be real. Tell me it's not true. If you look up that word, there's a picture of her in the dictionary. And I'm like, she just nothing positive, always bitchy. And I'm like, and so I got
Yeah.
3 days. I got 3 days for that. People were like, "How are you still on the internet?" And I'm like, I got to clean it up a little bit, I guess. And I don't know. That's why I don't know. Like, you get the right person
I
on the
think,
keyboard.
I do
You
think
know,
it's going to happen more and more
yeah. Well, look
for
at the
whatever reason.
restrictions. I got shadow banned. Here's the other thing. I got shadow banned, which I don't give a flying fuck about. Like, say it is what it is. But I'm like, what did I? And I'm like, I say so much that's offensive, and I'm like Bill Burr, kinda. Like, pick which day was it? Which minute was it? And what did
I
like?
just watched his thing.
Who did
He's
I
hilarious.
insult? I don't know. And like you look at a guy like Murray from Kruger, and I've been pulling his chain a little bit. He's got almost 1 million followers. That guy has to be vanilla as fuck. He can't have an opinion. Because if you go against it, you'll get beat up. You can't be.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, no controversy. The world doesn't want it anymore.
The bigger, which is kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, you get to that point where anything you say, someone's going to disagree with you and come after you, right? No matter what. You install a hot water tank, somebody's like, dude, you're a moron. Yeah. I'm going to report you. I'm like, all right, whatever.
You drive a white truck.
Just sort of wipe it. Like, it gives you some of that power back to say, you know what, I'm going to just say what I think, and we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. But you know what? Your voice then gets suppressed. They ban you off Facebook. They ban, I've said this for years, too. I said this back when the security was happening on airlines. I'm like, I'd like to go on the airplane where you can load and the guy's got 9mm to his chest and maybe dude's got a bomb over there. Fuck it. No security. We don't have to wait. We just get on the plane. You want to have a cigarette? Go ahead. Do what you got to do. You just get your shit going. Instagram, there should be.
Here's an opinion for you.
There should be something here where you could say whatever the fuck you want. Their monitor, I've gotten messages. I send a private message to somebody, and we get some pretty dark shit talking about some crazy stuff. And I've gotten messages from Instagram saying, blah, blah, this goes against our community guidelines. And I'm like, you're taking it out of context if you read the thread of what I'm talking about. But that one clip you're talking about, yeah, you could see where that's pretty bad.
That's the internet in a nutshell, right?
Yep.
Here's
what.
Yeah. Look at the vision. Exactly. Look at that's awful. I'm like, but did you see what we talked about before to get to that point? What we're talking about? No. The fact that you said that.
Yep.
It's just unacceptable.
You repost something. You repost a song that's got the N-word in it, right? That derogatory term for a black man. You post some Eminem stuff. Not even my song, not my music. I get a warning, and I'm like, what the fuck?
You've gone mute. There you go.
Oh, yeah. No, I got a phone call.
Oh, you're back. No, the world. I agree. The world is crazy, and on some level, the opinions we talked about this. The opinions that you and I have, 50-year-old men.
We're done. Yeah, we're dinosaurs.
Waning. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Nobody cares. Right? But they worry. If you're a politician, you're worried to death about what my kids think.
Oh yeah.
Who are in their 25 to voters. 15 to 25.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, lots of those kids think that those politicians are morons.
See, we talked about this transition. I still think we're getting crazier. You think we're going like this? You think we're coming down? I still think we're going up a little bit.
No, I don't think we've reached the peak yet. I think the peak is way closer than you think it is. We've talked about that. I think we're going to hit it, and then it's going to be like every other peak, Mount Everest. It's going to drop like crazy.
And it's gone through history like this. And Joe Rogan, and there's Chinese fables, and there's fables from Persia, all this kind of shit. Joe Rogan just posted something like this. And of course, when a guy with a big following says it, you got to fucking listen. And it basically is tough times create weak men, and weak men create tough times. And I'm like, that's
Everybody watching this should read that book. I've read that book. My kids have read that book.
Yes. Isn't it? Isn't it
or something.
Read it. Truth, though. Yes. Isn't it true?
It is. Every bit of that. Well, I shouldn't say every bit of that, but I read that whole book and truthfully agree with everything that dude said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's no longer with us, but.
The problem is we see it. We watch. I'm gonna get shit and I'll get banned for it. But when you start doing LGBTQ and having rainbow pride parades for 6-year-olds in school, and you can bring your mommy and daddy and mommy and all the bullshit and all this goes on.
Bad for sure.
Fuck, I know. I'll get clipped for sure. There's gonna be some LGBTQ that's gonna go fucking mental. But when you have a pride parade with two dudes fisting each other on a parade float, and you pull your children closer and we've lost the family value. And you can cut it any way you want. I don't give a fuck. People ban me. I'm like, I don't care. You've lost core family values. You teach the stupidest shit.
It's true.
They stopped making manual fucking transmissions. It's a special order.
I didn't really.
Yeah, can you imagine?
My youngest daughter is getting her learner's license in a couple of months.
I fucking love it.
And I'm like, you better learn how to drive the manual. She's like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. Everybody starts on it. Once you master that, we'll talk about We'll talk about the next.
I was looking at a new truck, and I'm like, holy fucking King's Ransom, if you can get one. And then I'm like, this one, I've had lots of vehicles. I'm like, I'm gonna get a manual this time. And the guy's like, ooh. I'm like, what's with the wincy face? He goes, a manual, eh? He goes, that's a special order. I'm like, I'm sorry, a manual transmission is a special order?
That's insane.
That's what I said. I'm like, automatic transmissions were a
That's how
special
old I
order.
am. Automatic was special.
Yes. I remember my
You
dad
want
when
an
he got the first
automatic?
one. He's like,
That's an
there's a
extra
push
$4
button.
grand, man.
Click. There's a push button. And I'm like, what wizardries? I grew up, my first car I learned how to drive on was a fucking 3 on the tree. The gear shift, the manual was on the gear shift. That was a manual clutch.
I drove a manual
Good
for, I don't
God.
even know.
Yeah.
My dad's work truck was a manual. It was a big, huge Ford. It was a tank.
Yep.
Grinding
Yeah,
those gears.
Bumper, when you hit something, the fucking tree fell over. Now you cave in the back of the vehicle. You're like, I kissed a snowbank about a week ago. I got a big ass steel bumper on the back I built. Kissed it. Tailgate was down because snowing, and my tailgate froze. The automatic locks wouldn't close. So I left it down, put pallets in the back for weight. We've been a little bit of snow and ice here. Backed into a snowbank, caved the tailgate, and I'm like this.
Right.
Right? I'm like, what?
It's all aluminum and tin, man.
Yes. And
all the new stuff.
And I was like, what do you figure a fucking tailgate with the electronic bullshit in it is? $4 grand, I bet.
You see
Something
that
stupid.
freaking
Something
GM
stupid.
thing?
Yeah, I know.
Where it has 18 different options. I'm like, dude, 18 different options for your tailgate.
Yep.
You're a loser. I'm sorry to say.
Options.
I've worked out of a truck my entire career. It's up, or down, or up. You want it down? Pull it down. You want it up?
Do you want half of the tailgate to fold open? Would you like the little thing in the middle? I think Ford did that. The thing in the middle to go click down like a.
So you can put your laptop on it?
Like a Learjet, and then fold the stairs out. You're like, tradesman, I think you guys are getting a little ahead of yourself. It's not a fucking jet, it's a truck. Maybe Kruger's is because he's got that. Oh my God. He's building some
How much does that truck cost? 100 grand?
I buy a brand new truck. I buy a 1-ton heavy load because I'm going to load the fuck out of it. When I back into a snowbank, I'm like, you know what? Let's roll up the sleeves. It looks a little more worky. I'm like, yeah.
There's Turbo's endorsement of his tattoo. Everybody enjoy that.
Gotta get that. There you go. Baker doesn't even have, he should have his family crest on his back.
I don't.
Oh, can you imagine?
I have one tattoo.
I winced saying it.
Nobody knows where it is. Not anything weird, but one, that's it. That's
I've never seen it, and me and Bob have it saunaed. But if Bob comes here, I'll probably see it. Sauna, I'll take you down. To get that sciatic nerve.
Are they letting Albertans into BC again, or what?
No, we're still. Our province is full lockdown, and when our idiot medical professional gets up on the podium, I'm like, oh, watching.
Okay, fine. Since we're breaking all the rules of Instagram, let's talk about that for a second.
Oh,
how in the hell did the UK remove all the restrictions?
Oh,
everything's done.
And Ireland folks.
And Ireland and Spain and France and Italy are all talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And Ontario and Alberta and BC come out and go, nope, we're keeping it all.
Do you have your papers?
We got to back up.
No, Bob, trust the science. Trust the science. Fuck. I'm like, you know what?
Freaking dead. I'm going to get
start again. I know. I'll get clipped too. I want some apologies from my fucking family. Because at the start of this whole fucking thing, my kids were like, okay, Dad, here's the deal. There's 100 jelly beans in here. This was how they explained it to me. Like I'm a fucking, I'm a fucking idiot. Right? Okay, Dad, there's 100 jelly beans in here. And I'm like, Calvin, like he dumps it out. And then he says to me, he goes, okay. Because I'm like, fuck the vaccine. I'm not getting it. So he lays them all out. He goes, okay, 7 of these 100 jelly beans will kill you. How many eat? And I'm like, couple of handfuls, and they're both both my kids are like this. I'm like, fucking 7%? That's good odds, man. I'm like, that's good odds. Then as we go forward, there's no flu, the numbers are fucking bullshit. I'd like to know what the real numbers was, which we never will. We never will.
Never will.
And you're a colander wearing tinfoil hat retard if you fucking talk about it like this. But
they're literally saying, what did the freaking CDC chick say? 75% of the C deaths had 4, not 2, not 3, 4 serious. I'm not going to use the word because it'll flag everything.
It'll flag
4 serious illnesses. So I got liver cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and emphysema. but I died from the sea.
Yeah,
Okay?
of course. Yeah, yeah. I
And
know.
I've said that, and people come after you. You're like, uncaring, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, 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 no. I've been through the death thing. I've
Yeah,
seen the whole thing. It's awful. I'm not wishing that on anybody.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I
The
would,
the
I'm
the
grateful,
problem is this:
frankly.
no accountability, Bob. None,
What's that?
none. There's no accountability to this. There's none. They stick a line in the sand. Somebody just commented, right, where they say how many died because they couldn't get the surgery. They show all these TikTok videos of these nurses. Nobody's working. Why? Because they canceled every elective. Everything's done.
Everything.
Look at Laura's aunt. She's fucking
They
writhing in
canceled
pain.
cancer treatments.
Yes. And you're like, you might get the flu. And you're like, and then now as we go through, I'm like this. And like say, I'm a little more strong on the math side. I'm a little less empathy. I'm not that sensitive guy. I don't know it's, I don't think I got the sensitivity in there. You know, it's in there. But the math, it's less than a 1%. Less. Way less.
Less.
Way less. And I'm like, so now my kids, I'm like, I said this. I'm like, I talked to my daughter. She's coming up on Monday. I'm like, look, you little fucking shit. It's 100 fucking jelly beans in here.
Yeah.
Now
half of one might poison you.
Okay, I got the fragment. Yeah. I got the fragment that's gonna fucking kill me. Now, you remember 2 years ago when you sat this, spilled them on the counter for this really elaborate fucking plan, and I'm like, now I chop off a little tiny grain of fentanyl. Now how many am I gonna eat? And I'm like, so when does an apology come? Because I knew, and the fact that I'm right, I'm like, it just felt wrong to me, the whole thing. I'm like, and my ex-wife was like, go, go, go. And everybody's losing their shit because plumbers, we're right beside fucking doctors. I could have got that shot the fucking second it came out. Literally, my kids were calling me from Vancouver going, Dad, can you say I'm an employee so I can come up and I can get ahead of everybody? And I'm like, no, Calvin, you're legitimate because Calvin was working for me. My daughter, I'm like, I'm not fucking lying so that you can get what you want. And I'm like, so how much of I say this to people all the time, how much of the law am I allowed to break? You know, it's against the code. I'm like, well, these are the laws in our area. So how much of at what point, so I can break one law, two law, the code, fuck it, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Why do we have inspectors? Like, people go fucking mental, but my kids specifically, for this whole COVID thing, I'm like, and then like to say, I woke up and I say, I'm not gonna do it now because this whole thing will start fucking talking to me because everybody monitors me now. So the goggle thing, I'm like,
you're on a couple watch lists, man.
I wake up and I say, hey, Goggle, good morning. She tells me the news. And then fucking I'm lying in bed and I'm waking up and the lights come on. You know, I'm holistic, Bob. I'm fucking like a mage, right? I'm like a savant or something fucking in today's world. So now,
listen to that. He's none of those things. He just
I'm not.
The old ass is what he is.
Cranky. I'm crankier than Bob. I don't know. You got the cranky one? Retired? Fuck. Anyway, it tells me that it told me that the UK.
I don't know. Whoever watches this, I'm going to post this to my thing. If you guys make it all the way to here, whatever you say about Turbo, at any time, any place, he'll hear about, and he will talk about it for
months.
effing months. Guaranteed, every day. And then the next 6 months, it'll be like once a week. He'll be like, and I'm not far retired.
Wait a minute. I haven't said OG Plum God in a while. Me and John Thompson.
Well, don't. We already chatted about that.
Knock it off. He doesn't need to have his chain jerked anymore. Poor guy. Can you imagine fucking hearing about, did you hear what Turbo said about you? And it's like, what? Oh, it's been going on for months.
Listen, just like you and me, I promise you they don't care.
I know. It is fun to shake. It is fun to shake people's cage.
What's that?
People that fucking think Instagram is more than it is, I think is the funniest thing with it though. Because, you know, I got the newest car and I got the nicest shirt and I'm like, it's all a fucking facade. Come on over. I'll lay the fucking bank information out. I just, you know, finance. Again, I tell people that just be real. Fuck. You know what? Be a real person. And that core value thing, like say, and it comes down to we're going to keep going. We might as well talk about religion and abortion, Bob. It gets down to fucking honestly. And here's the other thing. And are we not wrong? The more we walk away, and it doesn't have to be organized religion, but the more we walk away from core family values and we go to this crazy bullshit that we're in, doesn't it get more
Everybody thinks that they're living in the new world, right?
Fuck.
This has never happened before. I'm like, no. You're right. Maybe the cell phone thing hasn't happened before, but we're the same effing people that we were 500 years ago. We react the same. We do the same.
Yes.
It's like the cycle is going to repeat itself. Somebody asked which book it is. It's strong.
The
times make for weak men are strong. I don't know.
Strong times make weak
Stephen
men.
Arnio, look it up.
Yes.
Stephen Arnio is the author. Message me after, and I'll tell you what it is.
All it does is somebody that's lost everything, and they talk about somebody in business, been the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. If you're successful in business, you've been bankrupt once. If you're successful in business, you've been sued. They go through these things, and the reason why is if you've had nothing but fucking challenges and you're still here, like a Canadian carpenter, he's had cancer, his wife left him, fucking like everything condensed. I think it was 7 months where it just, and I'm like, if you get up from that, right? Oh, it does.
Listen, all you young guys, it's coming for you. I am not cursing you. I'm not wishing you ill will. None of that stuff.
You push
Turbo, Mike. I will counteract. I'll wish you good things, but it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Life is coming to kick you in the nuts. In your softest spot.
And the big one, Bob, too, that fucking people, it's like a surprise. You're going to die at some point. And we have the ability as human beings to choose how long we live. Yeah. You can have a heart attack tomorrow and go, that's fine. Your diet, whether you choose to drink, drugs, all your shit. Look at, where are you right now? You're in your fucking gym.
In the gym.
Right? That's the temple. I'm like, I'm working my way towards that, and I've been working 7 fucking days a week for a month. So I'll unbalance my life, static bullshit. You've done it. Everybody has. I'll work like a fucking whipped, to get it done. Why? I'll get into my gym. That's going to keep coming. But I'm like, if the work's there, I'm doing it.
That's the thing. You're a slave to the work, right?
You are.
I get that.
Because the phone.
Let's talk about the most controversial thing on this thing ever. Ever. Shit. Everybody that thinks that it's a 4-day work week or I can work 3 hours a day and be a million. There's books out there that say, and I've had people tell me to my face that I'm not doing it right.
Wow.
I'm like, you work too hard. You don't spend enough time with your family. You're not organized enough. You don't have the right network. I'm like, all of that shit is BS if you don't know how to work. I'm sorry. And the buzzword of the work-life balance, I'm like, listen, man, the only way you maybe can get a work-life balance because, your kids are out of the house, you're your own man again, blah, blah, blah. Maybe. But if you have a family, you know it, and little kids, that work-life balance.
Oh, you got your wife. You got your wife on you. She's on your ass.
Nothing you can do.
Bob, Christmas concert. Bob, I've left my fucking kid's Christmas concert. You probably have too. I only had 2 kids. You can fucking 5. So guaranteed.
Don't style again, Sachi.
Nibble. Fucking. When are you coming? It's at 3. Don't you fucking miss it. Or the main sewer's backed up. You got to come. You've been there. My wife bitching at me, and I'm like, baby, I got to go. Like,
can't hear you.
Can't hear me? Maybe it's me. Am I out?
Hang on.
I can hear you, Bob.
It's my headphones.
Maybe it's yours. I was talking with a friend of mine this morning. I'll keep the machine moving. Bob's got technical issues. I was talking with a good buddy of mine this morning, and my buddy this morning, he's a drywaller, and he's got a 650 horsepower supercar. He just bought, and it's lucky.
We just bought.
Yeah. So my buddy this morning up in Lillooet, I've known him since grade school. He buys a Roush Mustang, 650 horsepower, ridiculous. Like, he's going to die in this fucking car. And he just likes to start it, to hear it. And I'm like, I can relate. He goes, this morning, I was saying how does he feel lucky? And he goes, yeah, I feel lucky working 6 days a week for 30 fucking years. And I'm like, that's it. Luck is a loser's excuse. You got to put the time in, fuck.
It doesn't matter who you are.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, unless you're Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Well, unless you're...
and bad times are coming for that sucker, and I'm not being honest about anything. That's just the way it's going to go. Like, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
There's no escape.
No. The change will happen. I mean, apparently and you know what? just because the guy's fucking loaded and rich doesn't mean much. His wife's gonna leave him. Him and Sophie, all the bullshit you see. I'm like, I don't know.
Yep.
Man. I don't know. So
It's gonna
people,
be.
the envy of success is that, and that Instagram has created that. You know, a free tool from saying this, and we all want to be private endorsements for the companies, and I'm like, it just perpetuates it and moves it forward.
Yeah, but that's human nature, though. That's what I'm saying, right? Like people are like, oh, that's just a new thing. I'm like, no. You telling me that wasn't going on 1,000 years ago? That someone says, hey, man, I'll send you a drill.
Yeah.
And I've had those things. I'll send you this, but you got to say nice things. I'm like, listen, you send me whatever you want, but I'm going to say what I say. If that's a risk too broad for you, then don't send me your stuff. Make sure it's good, and I'll say what I think. If it's good, I mean, I threw that I got a message from Milwaukee where I threw that stupid switchback in it. He's like, dude, we've made a bunch of improvements. I'm like, well, that was Gen 1, and it was an absolute piece of shit. Like, it made me look like an a-hole on the job.
I know. Cable crossover. I'm like, now you take it apart, this door spraying everywhere, and I'm like, holy fuck. Now I'm covered in a rusty, shit-covered cable.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm happy. And I'm like, then you got to go and get the rigid to finish it, and you're like, oh.
No, I know. Manufactured it myself. I'm like, this will work. It'll hold everything in place.
Yeah.
And it lasted 10 feet longer. And exploded even worse.
And that was what? I think it was $900 for that fucking thing. I still have my.
It was $1,000 grand. It was $1,000.
I know. And I'm like,
you just threw that out. I'm like, I already threw the money out the window, and now it's just the aggravation that's left. So I'm just going to remove the aggravation and move on. And I'll admit, the new Gen, whatever they're on now, 3? I think they're on 3 with that thing.
Really?
I've heard good reports on that. I'm like, wow.
See, but we should be in a buyback program, right? There should be something where, like, you know what? I get it, but I'm like, we'll give you half off if we fucked you. You know, we have a couple of different sizes of things we shove inside of you, and like you feel.
Isn't that what we do? Isn't that what you do?
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy on the other end. Like
I know.
Here's a story. So I was the first guy in Calgary that started installing Rinnai tankless water heaters when they were copper exchangers.
Buddy, I put 2 in at highs. I put 2 Rinnais in at highs.
So I put in 45 of these things.
Oh, fuck me.
And had to replace them all on me because Rinnai's like, what do they say? It's the water. Sorry, it's the water.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, that's an intense commercial application. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Intense commercial application? What does that mean? Like that's an insane thing to say.
And you're like, they were gonna Navian, everything.
Well, and so they switched. Like we switched over to. Here's the sadder story. I switched half of them over to Bosch, and the other ones I installed just the back to the tank style because the Bosch were just as bad.
Yep.
And so I actually lost the contract for that restaurant group because it's my fault.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Nobody's gonna help me out.
No.
And so Rinnai has since come back and said, dude, we fixed everything. I'm like, okay, well, you owe me $80,000 a year because that's what those dudes were going to spend with me for the next. So you owe me $800,000. They're like, no, what? No, be reasonable. I'm like, I'm being reasonable. Like you guys didn't help me out, and now that I'm not anymore. I've been demoted. Now that I'm an influencer, you want me to?
You don't even have 1,000 followers. I have 18,000. I'm 18 times better than you.
You're hurting my feelings right now. My feelings are hurt.
I'm that guy. I'm old enough. I'm not even gonna say I'm sorry. That's
the world. That's the world we live in right now, right? So.
Man.
Yeah. Anyway, so now everything's Navien because I'm not gonna mess around with it anymore.
Well, you've been bit once, and then the crazy thing, you go to a trade show and they're like, "Have you seen her and I?" And you go into the story. I got the same thing with Armstrong heat exchangers. The Armstrong guy, I got fucked for same thing, probably about 70, 80 grand. And the Armstrong guy, I get it. This guy runs across the road and he sees a plumbing van in Whistler. And this guy comes up to me and he's telling me all this shit, how he's BCP. I'll never support your company again. Never. I'll never support your product again, and here's why. And they just look at you, and you're like, that 80,000 stings today, and that was 10 years ago.
Well, and I feel bad for those guys because they hire all those young guys.
Yep.
It's no different than plumbers that start off in new construction.
Yeah.
They're all eager and excited, and they're like, and they walk into me. I'm like, ah! And they're like, oh, dude, that guy's grumpy. Yes.
Yeah, I'm standoffish too. I like people to back up when I show up. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go to work. I gotta go pipe the rest of this fucking hemp barn.
All right.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
It's been lovely. Thanks for joining me, Rob. Helping me get my followers back.
I know, we gotta get the followers back. I knew you were crying. Fuck, I saw you. I had to jump on and help you. You know, the power of my 18,000 people rescuing your...
Listen, everybody that follows Turbo, if I don't have 19,000 followers by the end of today, I'm deleting everything.
Fuck, is that funny? Get it over with. Like I say, it's funny when I probably, you're in the same boat. I probably regularly interact with about probably 200-300 guys. Questions, tips, all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And then your story count, about 2,000 people a day watch my bullshit, and I'm like, really? I'm sorry, I'm not that interesting. Fuck, but yeah.
No.
So keep it real, Bob. Keep it going. I'm gonna make some money. Okay, man. Cheers.
All right. Bye for now.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye. You have to hang up, Chachi. All right. Well, that was fun. I actually have some assignments of my own to complete. So thanks to everybody for joining. I think we might try and do this on a regular basis. I literally am just talking about that off the top of my head. Have not discussed that with Turbo, but or anybody. Maybe we'll start doing like, as you know, I've done the Sunday sermon for years now. Maybe we'll have I'm not gonna do a podcast thing. I just don't have time. You know, I will say this about some of those trades guys out there. Eric and John, those guys do fantastic work, despite what Turbo says. The time that those guys invest in their podcast and in their social media and their working with manufacturers is not seen anywhere in this industry. So I have met both those guys personally. They're fantastic fellas, do a great job. They're no different than anybody else. They're subject to the same foibles and troubles as anybody that you'll meet on here. So maybe we'll do like From the Barn Sundays. That's not a bad idea. So well, I'll give that some thought, and we'll maybe we'll do like a live with Pipe Wench or whatever. We'll try and keep it to 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on that. We'll run that through, but probably bang something like that out. All right, that's it. I got some work to do as well. Have an excellent Sunday. Be well. I appreciate all of you, and I hope your day is as amazing as mine. Out.